So our last question of the evening or day is that from Bonnie Henneman, and she says, I have a 5-year-old blue heeler mix, 78 pounds, bilateral anterior cruciate ligament ruptures. Can you compare the TPLO options to other surgeries? We will do one knee to see prognosis, but each vet I go to says something different. And that's the tricky part, right? Put 5 veterinarians in a room and you'll get 10 different opinions. That's what makes it really frustrating for people. So I would first of all wonder, okay, the first thing I would want to know is at 78 pounds, Bonnie, is your dog overweight? Because if your dog is overweight, then that has to be considered as part of the picture as we're trying to put together a conditioning and plan to be able to help your dog out. So if your dog is overweight, then that needs to be addressed as well as dealing with the cruciate ligament. And bilaterally, they're ruptured. Comparing the TPLO options to other surgeries is a little bit, takes quite a bit of detail, and it's usually something I sit down with my clients and I show them pictures. Obviously, the main ones that are out there that people are doing is either a TPLO or a TTA. I recommend trying to do something that can actually redo the original biomechanics of the missing ligament, like a patsama or an over and under. For a little while, there was a group that was actually looking at trying to recreate the same type of surgery that they do in humans, where they'll take a little bit of the semitendinosus or semimembranosus tendon, and they'll actually run that through the joint and have it turn into a graft. They say supposedly dogs don't do it the same way, but I remember there was one study, and it was a small group, just I think 5 or 8 dogs, but it was very successful when they did it. I think it's gone off onto a tangent now because everybody's doing TPLOs, but I still think it would be nice if we'd get a group that they'd go back into looking at, well, how do we recreate the actual natural biomechanics of that missing ligament. So I guess you have to base it, like I said in earlier questions, you have to base it on how much time do you have to spend with your dog doing rehab or prehab post-operatively. Prehab to get them fit before surgery, rehab post-operatively. Because if you don't have a lot of time, I would just get the TPLO done. Because the thing that makes it key to surviving and being successful with one of the more conventional type procedures, one of the more traditional procedures, is to get that leg strong and to get that dog balanced and to get that dog square and to get that dog straight again with chiropractic, acupuncture, body work, doing some conditioning work. You got to do your rehab. And you don't have to have a water treadmill to do rehab. You know, everybody's now thinking that you can only do rehab if you have a water treadmill. But, you know, I have people that have large kennels, the sled dog people, and we just create rehab exercises from what we can find in their kennel. And I think actually far too many people are putting dogs in water treadmills when they're not ready. So I strongly recommend, you know, there's a lot of rehab stuff that you can do at home and get them started on it. Your dog who hasn't had surgery yet, get him going on rehab now. If he hasn't been doing some rehab exercises, then you should be getting him going on that. And you can still do a little bit of chiropractic, and you can certainly do some acupuncture to get the inflammation down in that joint. And then ask for, you know, which procedure to do. I have a bias, and I'll admit that I have a bias. And but the big question is, if you were one of my clients and if you were sitting down in the room with me, I would say, okay, here are the pros and cons of both procedures. And here's what if you're going to be successful on the one, you have got to make a commitment to getting the rehabilitation work done. And if you can't make that commitment, that's okay. I get that. We have limits on times, limits on resources. Then you should do a TPLO. And if you do a TPLO on one leg, you got to do a TPLO on the other leg because it makes the two legs imbalanced. So because, you know, the TPLO is actually trying to correct that tibial angle that we have in the back, so it gets leveled out, so it's almost a zero angle. If you have one leg that is flat and the other leg has the angle, see if I can do this on with the camera, then you're walking around on a flip-flop on one side and a high heel on the other side, and of course everything is going to be screwed up, and you're going to have problems in the back, you're going to have hip issues, you're going to have lower back issues, iliopsoas issues. So if you do a flip-flop on one side, you have to get a flip-flop on the other side. So, you know, that's the best I can tell you because I don't know your dog, I don't know the x-rays, I don't know the problems that he's having. But you need to, the surgeon is going to be the important thing for you too. And you have to find somebody that you can work with that is a team member that you trust and that your dog likes and that you like. So if you need to sit down with the surgeons and talk with them. And if you have somebody who comes in and doesn't talk to you and says, this is what you have to do, and walks out and won't answer any of your questions, you might not want to use that person. But if you have someone who's an older veterinarian who does one of the more conventional techniques and he sits down with you and he spends a lot of time with you and he's a very good technical surgeon and he helps you with, trying to put a plan together, then you may want to go with that person instead. So, every situation is different and your needs are different, your dog's needs are different, and the situation that you have with people, with having resources, the people in your area as resources are going to be different. And the best I can tell you is decide what you've got, decide who you have, decide who you like, put things in a negative column, put things in a positive column, and then sit down and think through it and make the best decision for your dog that way. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate everybody being here, and this was kind of fun. And if you don't mind my dog making noise, and hopefully we can do it again soon.